it's confusion in white people where they're like, so can we say it or not? I mean, you know, which you know kind of leads into. I know you're older now, wiser as we're supposed to do it. Like Kyle Barney said before, folks, he does not say the ER. Let's not attack Kyle. Let's not find Kyle attacking him. He does not say the ER. But the A, do you still, you know, if the right song pops on and you're riding the fellas, do you still drop the A in your age now, or have you kind of moved past it?
I've moved. All right, it's a twofold answer. It's both. I use it with only with music. So you know, if I go back out to the karaoke bar, you know, me and the homies, we get together. We got real big on doing a Mercy, Kanye, Big Sean, Push all them, and you know, it got to the point where we were doing that. Like, we got requested multiple times by multiple people throughout the night. Hey, are you guys going to do this? That is the only time I use any form of it anymore. As far as my general conversation, I have completely cut that out. You know, I had a conversation with Jerome one time because, you know, as we got older, you know, this was all in my early and early mid 20s. You know, now I'm 31 now, so you know, come a long way. This was probably about, I haven't used the word outside of music in probably, I would say, 3 or 4 years. You know, I had a conversation with Jerome one time, you know, because he used to be okay with it, and then I don't know, you know, things changed. You know, we get older and everything, and he was like, you know, I don't feel that comfortable, you know, being around if you're gonna, you know, with you using that word. And that, you know, for me, that was really enough. I'm like, all right, I'm definitely not going to use it around. So it started with me not using it around him, and then I just kind of phased it out. I've added other things, you know, using bruh. That's the new big one now. I use that a lot. You know, not that I feel weird using it. You know, I have used it. Obviously, it's part of my past. You know, I used it regularly, freely, but always in a good manner. You know, it was never in a derogatory manner whatsoever. But still, I've gotten to that point now where I just don't really use it, at least in terms of, you know, a conversation, me talking to somebody else, whether I'm talking to you, whether I'm talking to Derek, anybody. I really don't use it in conversation. Really, just only, you know, banger comes on and it's in there. It might fly out. But again, you know, unless I'm like on the karaoke stage and I'm surrounded by other people, and it's just you know, I might not use it. So kind of both, to answer your question. But as far as, you know, using it in my own dialogue, vocabulary when I'm speaking to people, I don't use it anymore.
So
Outgrown it.
you know what, and that's, I think that's one of those things where, you know, the older we get, maybe the wiser we get. To be completely honest, it's one of those situations where I use it with other black people sometimes, but not all the time. It's not really part of my regular conversation, my regular vocabulary. And where for me, I kind of have the not uncomfortable. No, let's say it. This is my show. Where I have it kind of where I'm uncomfortable for white people is when we say it amongst ourselves in front of white people, and I can see the white people get like, like they, you know what I mean? Like we'll just have it in normal conversation. Oh yeah, what's up? This, you know, and where this, and where there, and then the white people around are like, oh, so like what's happening right now? You know what I'm saying? They themselves kind of get confused. So I guess I'm asking through you, and I didn't ask you this question before. I'm asking through you. Is that scenario where you're kind of part of a conversation, but you're not? Where we kind of say it amongst ourselves, you know. I guess my question is, what should there be more clarification from black people as a whole about that word? Or should there just be a hard stop? Or is it one of those gray area things where it is,
Yeah. It's, oh man, that is a great question. Man, you know, it's kind of weird for me to try and answer that. You know, it's, you know, for lack of better terminology, it's not our word to decide who, you know, everybody should be allowed to use it. Nobody's allowed to use it. Only we're allowed to use it. You know, I think and and that's for that reason it's going to stay as a gray area. It's always going to be one of those things where it's each individual or each group, kind of decides amongst themselves, you know, hey, we've been cool with this dude for 15 years. I know he ain't got no malice in his heart. He could say it. I don't mind. And then you got other groups that I don't care how long I've known you. You're not allowed to use that word. So it does. It puts white people in that area where they're like, am I allowed to use it? Am I not allowed to use it? I would say, as a general counsel of the white people right now, just don't use it. If you have to ask, the answer's probably no. And I mean that was kind of how the thing was with me. Like I didn't ask, like, hey, y'all mind if I use, that word with y'all? No, I never did that. It just it happened one time, and everybody was cool with it, and it kind of went from there. So that's how I'm thinking it. If you got to ask, I think you answered your own question at that point.
Yeah. Generally.
But
oh no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. To answer the earlier part of that question, you were like, mentioned, it makes white people uncomfortable or not. I think that depends on how they grew up. For me, I don't care. Like, Jimmy. Jimmy just drops it freely, doesn't care who's around. We had a funeral with my parents around. He didn't care. He will say it. I'm dropping in church if he has. But
Kyle, we at your wedding, bro. Your grandparents is there, bro. People's grandmamas is there. Jimmy just walking around dropping the egg, and I'm like, Jimmy, come on, bro. We can't be doing this in front of all these white people because then they get confused and think they can say to us when we don't know them like that. Like, Jimmy, stop, please, Jimmy, stop.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, I think it's. I think it's more how you grew up. Me personally, I grew up around it. It never really fazed me growing up. But then you might get, the people that, like you mentioned earlier, maybe live in a more affluent area or a much less diverse area, where they hear, in the group, a couple of you guys use it, and then they're like, can I use it? Or, oh, I feel really weird right now, kind of thing. So I think it's more how you grew up, did you grow up around, like with anything, you're going to be more comfortable the more you've been around it. So, I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It definitely, you walk into that what's in a person's heart, I guess, conversation. You definitely bring up the point of if you have to ask, you probably don't, because if you have this burning desire to drop the N-word, then people might want to question like your other parts of who you are. Right. Like, why you want to say it so bad? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on in there? It becomes this like forbidden fruit of words. Now, you have a son. Okay, you have a Caucasian male son. I don't know why I said that like that, but it's funny to me now. I'm keeping him in there, right? You have a son who is happy all the time. At least y'all film him. He's happy. You know what I'm saying? Always laughing and stuff.
Yep.
Going into 2021 and beyond, and how this world and this society is changing literally on a day-to-day basis, as we've now have, stopped the Asian hate. We've had, the Me Too movement. We've had BLM. We've had all these situations. And I know this part will probably be the unpopular part of me asking the Caucasian male. Not so much of what his mindset is on it, right? But as a parent with a Caucasian male son, talking about the N-word, things like that, how in your mind, I mean, he's only like, what, 6-7 months old? Or a year old?
It's 10 months now.
10 months, right. I know you're probably not thinking that far ahead, but if you were able to, how do you believe you're going to handle it, train, teach, all that stuff? Because I will say this though, in today's day and age, and cue the tiny violin, if you are progressive white male, I'll say it that way, or open-minded white male, I'll say it that way, it is a open field on you, right? Every particular group is mad. It's mad. Every particular almost cuss. Every particular group is mad at the white male, right? And the white male, like yourself, a couple of people that I know, you're like, yo, I want to help. It's not me. But everyone's like, no, it's you, bump you. And so now with you having the next generation, you got to try to tell Brother X, like, hell, this is what's coming. So how do you plan on handling that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like you said, you know, it is, I'll answer it in how I would handle it if it were right now. As you said, things are changing. Things change so quickly. I mean, like you said, you know, back in 50s, 60s, 70s, probably even like the early 80s, where it was just nothing but derogatory. And then the hip hop culture works its way in, and now it's a colloquialism amongst other black people. And then you get to this point, 2000s and ish, where some white people can say, so it's a, you know, and we're at a definite turning point in our country in terms of race relations right now, like you mentioned, with all the movements that are going on, with everything that's happened. So I can't really predict how it's going to be 10 years down the line when I have to have this conversation with him. So I'm just going to answer it how I would if we're in now, if he were, say, 10 years old now. Basically, I'll probably, you know, do it much the way I was raised. It's, you don't use it. Now, just, you know, it may be said around you, maybe even said to you, but, you know, you never know. You may know, you know, you may be friends with this person for, you know, your whole life, and they use it on you. You know, if you use it, it's not like they're going to pull out a gun and shoot you for it because you used it around your best friend. Right. But, you know, I would say, you know, just, you got to be very careful with it. You know, if it gets to the point where your group of friends is okay with you using it, you know, I would still be very cautious with it, but, you know, make sure you never use it around somebody that you don't know, that, because so many things can happen. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, you don't know what other people's viewpoints on it are. So, you know, I'm going to raise him to just understand the word, you know, understand the history behind it, why it, you know, the whole history, you know, where it came from to what it morphed into, to this is why we don't generally use it. You know, once he gets to those teenage years, you know, and he's hanging out with his friends, if they, you know, if he uses it, you know, if he has a mixed group of friends like I did, then, you know, that's one thing. You know, like you mentioned, I can't, you know, control him or his mindset, you know, what he does when he's outside of the house with his friends, in terms of his vocabulary and everything. Now, if he's in here spouting off this and that, and yeah, I might, you know, reach into that drawer and find something to beat him with. But, you know, if we're still allowed to, you know, do that kind of thing in 10, 15 years down the road, who knows?
CPS, don't come to his house. CPS, leave him alone. He not doing that. CPS, don't do that.
I probably shouldn't be saying this, you know, on a thing that's going on that. We'll edit that, right?
That's an edit. Yeah, that's an edit. We'll take that out. We're not taking that out.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just, you gotta, to understand the word, you have to know the history of it. You have to know where it came from and why majority of the people in the African American community do not want white people in particular using that word, because it was started by us to degrade them back in the slavery days, and, you know, all the way up through Martin Luther King and that movement, the civil rights movement, before it finally started to, I mean, it's not, obviously still not phased out. People still use it. You know, there's still very ignorant people out there that are just under generational, you know, brainwashing, for lack of a better word. You know, their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents, everybody's just been racist, so that's all they know, you know, and they're in this little hick town in Alabama, so that's all they know. So unfortunately, it's still not completely erased, which is why we still have these issues. If the hatred and the racism was gone, there would be it would just be another word. But unfortunately, we're still in, and I don't know if we're ever going to get to that, you know, maybe, hopefully, after our lives are over, you know, maybe we can get to that point, but there's just so much ignorance in the country still that I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point where, everybody is seen as equal as they should be. So, yeah, I'm just going to raise him, teach him the history of the word, and just advise him, just don't use it. We'll just leave it at that. And, if it gets to that point where his friends do allow him, and I hear it while he's talking to his friends, then I'll have a separate conversation with him on, okay, this is when you can use it. This is when you definitely shouldn't use it, and then have that kind of conversation.
I appreciate, I appreciate that answer so much. Just from the fact that of you touching on the history of the word that I've shamefully did not, folks. This is supposed to be Ask Black Dude, and I just assumed y'all knew the word was bad. But Kyle did a great job. That's the host of Under Pressure Sports, folks. 10 a.m. Sunday. He knows what he's doing. He's a professional now. For you to go through the history, brief history of that word. Having a conversation with your son about the history and about everything that happens, everything that happened with that word, is how we get to a better place. Maybe not the destination, but that's how the journey goes along. Because, we as African Americans can have these conversations with Caucasians as much as we want to, right? But if it just stops at that person and it doesn't spread throughout the community, like, hey, they kind of don't want us to say it. Can we not just say it point blank and then have those smaller discussions after that? If we don't have that, and that, like you said, that generational teaching, we're on the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. If we don't have that, that's where it doesn't progress. But hopefully, many conversations like this, many more conversations we'll have with different people about the word, about the meaning of the word, what it means to them, all that different stuff. We'll push this conversation forward to the point is, like you said, it's either just a word or not just a word, but it's a word that's not used by anyone, really. I'll probably call it Uncle Tom for that, but whatever. Or it's a word that we can find a better word, a better synonym for that word than how we use it for. So, any last words, Kyle Barney?
No, just if you're white and you're watching this, if you gotta ask, the answer is no. And those of us, or those of you that may still be using it, be careful, with your usage of it. And, all I know is if I ever hear anybody use derogatory words, I'm throwing hands. So I don't play that game. Just, it's a very touchy subject. That's what you do on your show here with Ask a Black Dude is, you like to dive into the stuff that people aren't comfortable talking about. So, I appreciate you having me on, just to kind of give my personal life experience with the word and, how it's evolved in my life and, to where I've gotten to the point where I am now. It's, it's been nice, getting on here and being able to maybe let some people know, about where I came from and, how I got to where I am at this point. So appreciate you for that, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate you coming on, and it's people like you that this is the show is for, and where it will grow because of people like you, because we have these conversations about this. Because yeah, man, diving into the uncomfortability is what we do on Ask Black Dude. You know what I mean? Having those talks that people don't want to have, people having secret. Nah, baby, let's bring it to the light. Let's be adults about the situation. Maybe we can move forward. So Kyle Barney, thank you once again for coming. I appreciate it so much. We will have you on about different stuff. We might do the flip. We might actually talk about some sports next time coming on. Because for those who do not know, I co-host with Kyle Barney on Under Pressure Sports. And his team lost in the tournament, so he about to have some kind of blues, baby. So
I'm not looking forward.
Once again, this is Kyle Barney, host of Under Pressure Sports, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Come check it out. It's fantastic. We dive into every genre, every part of sports. Football, mainly. Basketball, trying to do some hockey, but we'll see what goes there. I am Lamont Powell. This has been Ask Black Dude. Catch you guys on the next one.